Welcome to the Saints of City and Me audio love letters to and from the city of New Orleans. You know, between us, this podcast has occasionally turned to discussions on North London rivalry that never ends. Spurs, Arsenal, it's tense, it's emotional, and frankly, it's really enjoyable for one of us. But every now and then, football gives us a bit of common ground, and Croatia seems to be one of those places. Luka Modric, Davor Suker, Perisic, Eduardo, Niko Kranjčar, and Vedran Luka is a country that's produced players good enough to make both of us forget our differences, if only briefly. But today's episode isn't about North London, but it's a bit about Croatia. Because tucked away in New Orleans is a place that quietly tells a Croatian story. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, Gentilic, Crescent City Steakhouse, Sam's Place, and Uliglic is... I might have got that one wildly wrong. And many other memorable restaurants in the city were founded by Croatians, but one stands above them all. Drago Seafood Restaurant, a local institution famous enough that it was one of the first stops for Tyler Shuck when he arrived in the city. Not a bad introduction to New Orleans, to be fair. And this is more than just great food. It's a reminder that Croatian roots run deep in the city. Long before the Saints, long before any of us were arguing about football clubs, there were people crossing oceans and building lives there. Which brings us to today's guest. Vedran, a Croatian Saints fan based in the UK, connecting the Adriatic to the Gulf Coast, football to American football, and providing once again that black and gold reaches further than you would ever imagine. Vedran, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well,
it's kind of crazy when you say it like that.
That was a smart intro, mate. And you only tripped over one thing. And to be honest, when I was going through that intro, there were two that I was tripping over, and that was the one that I kept tripping over. So yeah, you ballsed it up, but hey, sweet.
I think you nailed
it.
I'll
say you. That's what I was going to say, Vedran. I say you ballsed it up. I haven't got a clue.
Yeah, I feel like I would have probably messed up one of those as well. We are not known for easy names, especially last names.
I was YouTubing it and seeing if I could get the correct pronunciation for the restaurant. And it gave me about 6 different pronunciations. So I found it spelt out phonically, and then I put that in the script, and I still ballsed it. It's, they've got a cookbook, that restaurant. So.
All I know is you're ready for your next holiday to Croatia. Easy.
Well, you've got all the beaches, right? Croatia took all the beaches all across the Adriatic up to Italy. Yeah. So, I can take some of that. Yeah. It's like Florida and Mississippi, the way they took the Gulf Coast and just left Alabama with like that little tiny bit.
Yeah. How you doing, mate?
Fantastic. Yeah, still struggling a little bit with the jet lag, but I feel it's a small price to pay for probably what was the best week of my life. Yeah, it was great.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll obviously get into that in full detail because everybody who was on either a WhatsApp group or in our Discord were seeing what a wonderful time you were having, which was permeated with just alcoholic misdemeanors, I think, which were just incredible.
A little bit.
It looked fun. Yeah, it looked funny. It looked like a number of trips that you've seen when somebody goes over and experiences it, and then suddenly, I think, well, you'll tell us later. I'm not going to go into any more of that. A little bit of Saints we ought to talk about because obviously we haven't really done a pod for a while. Free agency, gents. Were you happy with what went on in free agency?
I'll let our guest go first.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, to be honest, yes. I think Edwards is a brilliant signing. I think that's kind of exactly the type of signing you would hope it make. So when I saw that was even just that would be enough. And then, okay, Caden Ellis, I think solid player. Can he? I mean, big shoes to fill. We'll see how that goes. The one that I'm a bit uncertain on is how do you actually say it? He said it's not Etienne, it's Etienne. It's almost like Etienne, like the guy from Dolphins.
It's like Etienne.
Yeah. That one I'm not really sold on. Not just because I had him in fantasy and I feel like he fumbled 300 times when I had him. But I always struggle kind of valuing running backs. So I always think they're a bit like it's a bit of a waste of money. But then if he is good, I think that the difference he can make for the offense could be like really significant. But I think the whole, at least in my eyes, for this year, the whole plan, including the draft as well, is I think we could have a top 5 to 7 O-line if things go right, which would be absolutely huge for us. And then just boost the pass rush a bit and the linebackers, and we're kind of good to go more or less. So I think overall it was pretty solid.
Yeah, I think the stat I like about Etienne is last season he broke more 20-yard runs than the whole of the Saints running back room put together. So I was like, I would take that. And I like the fact he's from Jennings, so he's a Louisiana boy. He's leaned into that a lot. I might get his jersey just because it's nice to have a Louisiana player's name on the
It's
back.
like the honey badger coming back. It was like, it's always nice to have like a local legend.
Yeah, and I got his jersey when he came back when he came to the Saints. So I'll probably do the same here. I think I'm broadly the same as you, Vedran. I think David Edwards was a massive pickup. You don't often get really good offensive linemen come up in free agency. So if one's available, you've got to jump on it. And I think it sounds like we got Will Clapp to thank for that, because I think reading between the lines, he was putting a few good words in for us, knowing he was going to become a coach at the end of the season. Ellis, again, similar thing. He's 30 now. Is he? It'd be interesting to see if he's still got it and how they use him. I suspect they'll probably use him to rush the passer quite a lot, because that's a strong point for him, isn't he? So, but it's seeing how that merges with Danny Stutzman and whatever they do with Pete Werner. Or Stallbird, actually, because he showed a bit of juice last year as well, didn't he, when he came into the team. And getting a punter was massive, because I know we sort of gave him a couple of passes last year, but the punter last year was dog shit, in my opinion.
It really was shit.
I'm not going to mince my words. Some of his punting was atrocious. So, and again, we've brought someone in who's got a history with the City, was at Tulane, so he knows what it's about. So, again, comes straight in, knows what he's dealing with, and hopefully we can have someone that resembles close to what Morstead was after several years in the wilderness when it comes to punters. Or should I say, having punters, cutting them, and then they look pretty good after he cut them, like Gilkin did.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Will Lutz as a kicker. We seem to have balls that up a little bit, but I'm broadly happy with it.
Special teams has not been our strength in the last 2 years, is it? In any way, shape, or form?
No.
I think I agree with you guys. I think Edwards is a great pickup. I know obviously he gets a load of grief and absolutely quite rightly a number of times. But if Ruiz is your weak link on that line, then you might be able to deal with that. And you're right about it's all, whenever you pick up a running back in free agency, there's always a concern, isn't it? Because literally, I know obviously as they get a bit older, the drop off can be quite severe, but you just never quite know. We had our fingers burnt, didn't we, a couple of years ago when we picked up Williams, and he was, even though maybe we didn't use him in exactly the correct way, he didn't really do much for us. So
even Peterson,
apart from give us a brilliant meme.
I was going to say, even Peterson, that went badly, didn't it?
Yeah.
The thing with each though is like it's essentially a 2-year deal anyway. So like if you look at the overall number, it's a big number, but then for 2 years we're fine. Like he can only kind of go well. Like I don't think he's going to be terrible, and I do think that like we just lack. Well, I think last year what we achieved and what Shaq achieved is incredible, considering the absolute lack of talent across all the skill positions. So I think this year, if you pair this with a good O-line, I think we'll surprise a few people for sure.
Yeah, and also a run game, which we literally didn't really have. You had a couple of people who showed out on a couple of occasions at the back end of the year, but we didn't have a run game.
They were off the street.
Exactly. But it was probably beneficial a little bit to Shuck because he had to throw it. And he was obviously throwing it to guys, obviously when Chris Olave went out, he was throwing it to guys who really had not much NFL experience. So if you've got that trench right and your running back can give you some other options, that'll be great. And obviously Noah Fant we picked up, which, I know I think Kellen Moore has been quite high on. He tried to pick him up before. So, hopefully that's a good pickup as well. We'll have to see. I think overall, I mean, it was funny, wasn't it? I think overall, obviously we're saying we're relatively happy, but at the time that it was happening, it was, again, the Saints Twitter sphere or Exosphere or whatever you call it now seemed really happy, which is unusual in itself. So, so I think it hopefully bodes well.
I'm a little bit, it's not even concerned about like who we signed, because I think we signed legit players, but I think I'm just a bit concerned because the last time I was really, really, really excited about kind of how our season is shaping up and the people we signed and stuff, which is kind of how I feel now, was 2014 when we signed like Jairus Byrd and stuff and all these guys. And I thought we were going to have the best team of all time. and everyone ended up being absolute dog shit. So I almost prefer being pessimistic over being like optimistic.
Vedran, man, I was just there trying to, you know what I mean, build it up a little bit, make people feel a bit good, and you have to drag us way back down, way back there. Come on, man.
I'm just still traumatized by that.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair. Hey, look, yeah, again, who knows? Who absolutely knows? I think, I think at the and yet again, we probably won't really be able to know until next week when the draft has occurred and we sort of see where they've gone. And obviously after the draft, there'll probably be some more free agency pickups and stuff. So yeah, again, at the moment, it's all, you can tell nothing from what's going on apart from the organisation seem to pick up some guys, as you said, with the H&M deal for relatively decent money, and they've bolstered the talent of the roster, even before the draft. So yeah, so we can see. Let's just try and keep Vedran on the up and up, Dan. But let's not allow him. Let's not allow him to slide back there, mate. Please.
I've got a question for both of you. Cam Jordan, is he coming back, or is he done?
I think so.
I think he's coming back.
Yeah. If you asked me a couple of months ago when he was posting all the kind of the cryptic things and everything, I would say he's definitely gone. But now I probably lean towards he's going to be back.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit like, only because obviously the fact that there hasn't obviously, and it's no disrespect to him, but I wouldn't have thought there had been a huge market for him. Otherwise, he would have been picked up at the price he wanted. Now he is in that period where it's now post draft pickup, and obviously and we don't know what the difference in numbers is, but he certainly was obviously looking for possibly a bit more than we were possibly looking to give him. When you're a post-draft pickup, unfortunately, you just got to accept what you're given, I think. And I know it sounds awful, and so if you're going for a minimal number, why not just come back to the Saints? So I think he'll be back.
Yeah,
well, he's in Japan at the moment, so he probably can't do any contracts either way.
No. All right, so on that point, Alvin Kamara.
Yeah. I thought he'd be retired by now. If you asked me like 3 months ago, I thought he'd just be retired by now. But now, I don't know. I mean, I'll always be happy to have him back. But then, do I think he has much juice left? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some people on social media who were very happy that Cam was potentially going and DeMario, and even in the run up to the end of the season, they were saying just
that's crazy talk.
Yeah, but I know, right? Some people were very public in their thoughts that the team should get rid of him but to me, I look at Alvin, I'm like, those two have produced more than he has last year, and arguably DeMario several years. So it's like I'm a little bit like, if you're happy for him to go, then probably you should be happy for Alvin to go, because he can't stay healthy, and statistically he's just not. He got close that year, got injured, close to 1,000 yards for the first time in his career, and he's 30 now, right? So he got that at 28.
By the way, that is the most insane stat out of any like elite running back ever in the NFL. That's never had 1,000 yards.
Yeah. I mean, it is primarily due to the way they used him, and they could line him up in the passing game effectively. But you think about it, like him and McCaffrey, they were like toe to toe at one stage, and then McCaffrey's he's injury prone as well, right? So he's in and out.
No, literally all I was going to say is that, like the McCaffrey thing, obviously we know he's, unfortunately for him, has been injury prone. But I mean, their stats are pretty similar, but that's obviously for the amount of time that McCaffrey's probably not played. And also the other thing, and I think I've said this before, it's like, no, I don't expect Alvin Kamara to be the player that he was 5 years ago. But also, again, when you're going through a season and you have the problems on the O-line that we have, and everybody is moaning their tits off about the fact that we can't block, we can't do this. And again, a running back, whether or not they're on the down slope, is not going to be as effective at all. And we all spoke about the way they were using Alvin Kamara. So I think it's a dual thing. I think if he comes back and he's on, he's on a little bit of a beneficial contract to us, and if you can get him in the room. But I'm a little bit with you, Vedran. I'm surprised he hasn't retired, because he's spoken about the fact that he doesn't watch the game. He obviously loves being part of the game, but he's got so much of a life outside the game. It just seems really weird to me that he sort of takes, it's probably almost with his training, probably almost 7 months off of his own life, because his life seems to fulfill him away from the game. And you assume he doesn't necessarily need the money, but yeah, I think if you can get him back on a team friendly deal, I think it'll be beneficial. But
he's
yeah,
still under contract, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about whether or not they restructure it, because I think that's also part of what the discussion has been. So if they can restructure it to a more team friendly, then who knows? But yeah, it seems a shame, doesn't it? Because he was such a hero for so many people, and it's just got to a point where there's a little bit of, it's almost like a shrug of the shoulders about the situation, and I just think that's a little bit of a shame.
Yeah, I tell you what did make me laugh when I saw him on Armstead's pod, and he was talking about not watching football outside of what they do in training and stuff.
Yeah,
and Armstead said like they was playing the Rams, and he was like, "This 99's pretty good, isn't he?" It's like, "That's Aaron Donald." What do you mean? He's pretty good. It seems all right, doesn't he? It's like it's like the bike. Bring it into an Arsenal reference.
Can I just ask how the fuck you mixed up Hinchcliffe and Ben White?
Because Andy Hinchcliffe,
different eras. They certainly
Andy Hinchcliffe didn't like football either, did he?
Oh, did he not?
I think Hinchcliffe, Asuakoto, Ben White, they're all players who've sort of said they don't really watch soccer.
I know.
Outside of
what that's fine. I'm just amazed about the era jump in there, and but hey, look.
Well,
anyway,
I thought Hinchcliffe first, and I was like, actually, Ben White is probably more relevant, given you're about to blow the title in the Champions League.
Yeah, and
surprised
and you're about
18 minutes to bring this up. Yeah,
I've got to get Jadji now before I'm in the Championship.
Exactly. He's going to be playing Hull and QPR and Blackburn Rovers. So come on,
that'll make us even worse for you, because we've got nothing to lose.
The worst one will be
even
when
more
you
annoying.
play Lincoln City. Lincoln City, come on, Jesus!
Nice cathedral
Christ.
up there. Nice cathedral.
On the positive side, next year we can go with Sam to Bolton, Tottenham, if Bolton get promoted. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, we can go.
Yeah, there you
go down to the Phoenix Club.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, they still have to. They've still got games they need to win, don't they? But let's hope that is a trip that we can make. Because our boy Sam will take care of us.
Before we roll into Vedran's story, we're a week away from the draft. Not quite sure how it's going to land. Mock drafts are all over the place. If I was to say to you both, who do you think we'll get, and who would you ideally like us to get? What would be your answers?
I would say, so who do I think we're going to get? Honestly, fuck knows. I feel like out of all the years, this is the one year when I actually have no idea who we're going to get. And who do I want us to get? I adore Bane. I think Bane is the most incredible player I've seen in like ages. I don't care that he's short, whatever, T-Rex arms, I don't give a shit. He's an unbelievable player. Like obviously I'm not a pro scout. I don't pretend to be one.
No.
But every time I watch Miami, he just jumps off the screen, and he looks like a mean player. And I really like those. But then again, I thought Trevor Penning was going to be great because he was really mean as well, and that didn't work out. So I don't really know.
Well, Bane's quite interesting, because at the start of the college season, he was a defensive player getting the majority of the hype, was he? And then Reese sort of overtook him as Ohio's season went on. I wonder whether some of the slander about Bane is people trying to hope that he'll drop a little bit. And
but did you see
the story about the crash?
The Lions GM or something said that they've known about this Bane story for like years, and they don't care about it. So.
Yeah, that was definitely planted, because they'll all know that story, won't they? But it's more, I don't know. It's yet again, like mock drafts. Do they have an impact on anybody? Probably not. But I don't know. Maybe if it gets out in the public arena, maybe a team is slightly less sure about taking it, just because maybe they're thinking there might be some sort of, the fans might get a bit agitated about it, or it'll be. But yeah, again, I don't think that the teams worry about that. We can go through the history of who the Saints have either brought on board or drafted. Every team has had people who would have been on the team that in your natural life you probably wouldn't have surrounded yourself with them as a friend. So, that seemed like it was put in there for a reason.
Yeah, like Darius Geist, the LSU running back. Like apparently, everyone knew the stories about him, and Washington still drafted him. Yeah. Mike's dropped, so I'm not going to get his answer. He'll be back in a minute. I think before they signed Etienne, I wanted Jeremiah Love.
Yeah.
I just before the combine, and before the combine, I thought, well, he might make it to 8 because running back and positional value and stuff like that. And then after he put those numbers up at the combine, I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Although I look at the teams ahead of us, and I think to myself, if you're the Cardinals, what a wasted pick, because you're in a shit state and you're going to go and get a running back when you need so many other things. The Giants have got Scatterboo, and you're just like, well, actually, maybe someone might jump us through. Someone might try and get up to 7. Washington might trade back. I could see us. I wouldn't be upset with Bain. I wouldn't be upset with Caleb Downs either. I've seen a lot of people say that they think he might actually be the best player in this draft.
I mean, he does seem like such a complete player. He seems unbelievable.
Yeah, and obviously he's grew up as a Saints fan to a degree, so that obviously, you like that kind of connection with a player when you draft them. But we'll see. I don't know when he should be back, but we'll just keep plodding along.
Give him his time.
And the other one, it'd be interesting if they get Chris Bell, because obviously he was wide receiver with Shuck at Louisville. They've given him a workout. He might drop because of the injury and not having much tape from last year or whatever. So that could be interesting as well. So if they went like defense wide receiver, I wouldn't have a problem with that, the first 2 picks. But I suppose I had a board falls, right?
I wasn't super keen on the first round receivers until, well, actually about a week ago, when I was in New Orleans, and then I was in Discord, and then I got bombarded by all these facts about why all of these guys are incredible and everything. And now I used to think, I was like, oh, Tyson is like, he's pretty good, whatever. But now I'm like, oh my God, he might be the greatest receiver that I've seen in I don't know how long.
That sounds like me after the draft, when a player they pick who I've never heard of before. I spend about half hour reading Twitter and Discord chat, and I'm like, this guy's best draft pick we've ever made. You can't go wrong.
I used to, back like years ago, I used to be so obsessed with the draft that I would watch everything religiously for like 3 months before the draft, scout every guy, super into it. And then in the end, I would just, every person that I would like ended up being a shit player in the end. And I was like, okay, there's no point. I was like, let me just, let me scout let me scout like the top 50 prospects and then just see who we pick and then go from there. There's no point. There's no point.
Just listen to Ross Jackson, and then that gives me what I need, and I'll just go from there.
There's plenty of smart people there to tell me what's good and what's not good.
Yeah, they get paid for it, and that's when I get them right. So yeah, in the absence of Mike being back until he comes back, Vedran, do you want to start us off with how you became a Saints fan?
Yeah, that's a bit mean, so Mike is not going to know.
He'd have to listen to. He can pause. I don't know how long he's going to be. That's the problem. He's quite old, and technology passes him by. He's probably got a carrier pigeon trying to fix it. Or we can. Yeah, let's go, and then we can recap for him when he comes back.
Yeah. So obviously I'm from Croatia, which is a country where, as you said, huge in terms of football, but not this type of football. Growing up, I've never ever heard of American football. I didn't know this is a thing. I didn't even know about like rugby or any other sports really. In Croatia, there is football, a little bit of basketball, a little bit of like water polo, which is what I played, and stuff like some random sports. Then but football is basically like 99% of Croatia is just football. And then it was the year of Katrina, so it's like 2005. I remember reading in the newspapers about how people from the city would shelter in the Superdome, and how kind of the whole city would like rally around each other, and everyone was like, the Saints played such a big part in it. And that was also the time when there was a lot of kind of speculation if the Saints were actually going to leave New Orleans and all these other things. And I just found this super interesting. But keep in mind, this was a time when I had like 3 TV channels. There was no cable TV, there was no satellite TV. I literally had 3 Croatian TV channels. That was it. So I just read this in the newspaper, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I was like, this seems like an interesting city, interesting kind of culture, community, everything. And the fact that they all rally around this sports team is like, it's quite unusual because this is just not something you see. So I just kind of filed this for like, oh, okay, interesting. Don't really care. Still don't know the sport. Not particularly interested. Then in 2006, when I was at the ripe old age of 14, they started a very niche kind of almost like pay-per-view type of TV channel started showing some NFL games. And I discovered this because I was on the Croatia's biggest kind of internet forum. It was like forum.hr. It was like a big thing. And people there started posting about how, oh, we're going to be showing these American football games. And I was like, oh, this sounds kind of interesting because like a little thing about me. I love every sport in the world. Like I follow everything from athletics to skiing to ski jumping to cycling to whatever. I don't care. If it's a sport, I'm going to watch it. So I was like, oh, this seems like a new sport. Like I was like, none of my friends know about it. No one I know talks about it. So let's see what it's like. And that was the 2006 season. I couldn't watch any of the first, I think like 5 or 6, 7 games, because it was always on a paid channel. So I didn't have it, until I think it was, I forget which week it was, but it was like probably like week 11, 12, 13. And it was the Steelers Saints game. And Steelers were the defending Super Bowl champions. So that was like the feature game because they would only show like 1 game per week.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's the team from like the Hurricane and everything. It was like, I'm really interesting to see let's see how this looks like. So I went on this like big mission to find a bar that actually shows this, because I think it was like the 9 p.m. game, or 10 p.m. back home. And I found the game, and we lost. I think some Steelers running back that I don't even remember his name, because it was the season after Bettis retired, so I don't even know who was the running back. But he had like 270 plus yard runs. It was ridiculous. Thankfully, I didn't realize that was the year when we got Breeze and Peyton. And the game that I watched, Breeze had like 400 yards. Aston had like almost 200 yards receiving. And I was like, oh, this is great. I was like, I love them. I was like, they played really well against the Super Bowl champions. They scored a lot. The quarterback looks amazing. The receiver looks amazing. And it ended in a heartbreaking loss, which is something I'm very used to with like the sports teams I support. So I was like, this is fantastic. I was like, this is a bit of me. So then I watched that game, and then ever since then I started following it. This sounds so old, by the way. I started following it in the newspapers every Monday. I would go in and read, or Tuesday actually, because the games were too late on Sundays. So it would be on the Tuesday newspaper. They would show the results and like kind of a little description of the games. So I started following the Saints results in the newspaper, and that whole season, and then basically the next season. Then thankfully, the first season that they started watching, that I could actually watch fairly regularly, was the 2008-2009 season. So pretty good timing.
Yeah, perfect.
So obviously that season goes spectacularly, and I was like, this is fantastic. I finally picked a winning team. My life is going to be gravy. I was like, we're going to win the Super Bowl every year. It's going to be the greatest experience of my life. Turns out,
move over Patriots. There's a new kid in town.
Exactly. I was like, yeah, maybe it didn't work out like that. But yeah, and then I think in 2011, I finally got good enough internet that I could start like streaming games online. I forget what was the Super Bowl 2011. Was it maybe like the Packers? I forget. Because I remember that was the first game that I watched. 2011 Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was Packers.
It was the Packers and the Steelers. Yeah. Which both teams that I absolutely hate. So I watched that. That was the first game that I watched from my computer. I remember that. That was really exciting for me. And that was also the year when, on that same forum that I mentioned earlier, there was like this big thread just talking about the NFL. And there was literally 10 of us. And that ended up being basically the only 10 people in the country who know about the sport. So we started playing fantasy that year. And we all became friends. And to this day, this is my longest running fantasy league. This is like year 17 now, or 16 or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah. And two
of them
is
American level. American standard levels in terms of time frames, yeah.
And 2 of them actually became like commentators for NFL games on TV and stuff. That's how few people in the country know about American football. Like I know 9 people who follow it, and 2 of them ended up working on TV for it. So yeah, and then I feel like 2011 was the year when I went from like, oh, this is interesting. This is like one of these sports that I follow, to like, this is kind of the only thing I care about, because it was the year when I got NCAA 11 for the PlayStation, which was, you cannot imagine how hard it was to get this in Croatia. Like, this did not exist. So I got like a copied illegal CD from someone I knew who knew someone, whatever. I think I played that game for 3 years. It was insane. And then also that was the year in my opinion that still probably hurt me the most out of any Saints year. And I also distinctly remember that the fucking Niners game, that I watched this in a nightclub on my friend's birthday, and I was streaming this on my phone in this nightclub. And I remember like Vernon Davis had like probably 200 yards. Alex Smith looked like Joe Montana. It was just the worst time. And I was watching this in the nightclub on my phone. And keep in mind, this is 2011 phone. This is not like iPhone 15. So like I was watching like 7 pixels on my screen. And I think that was the moment. I think that was the moment when I was like, I think I care about this a bit more than I should.
Yeah. So I bet
and
it's like watching Tecmo Bowl on your phone, the old arcade NFL game.
Yeah, pretty much. And ever since then, I kind of started caring less and less about every other sport and every other sports team. And I just realized that this is, well, also because that year I discovered college football as well, which was problematic because I had quite a lot of free time back then. And then I spent all my free time just watching football. At some point, I also tried watching like high school football, but I was like, that's a bit too much. I was like, I can't do this shit. At some point, I was watching like Texas 7A, whatever the fuck it's called, like their leagues and stuff. I was like, I don't know what this is.
You know what Sam would say if you told him you was watching that?
But yeah, ever since then, it's been the only thing I'd say, okay, we tend to lose in heartbreaking fashion, yes. Especially the first few years when I moved to the UK, that was really terrible because that was back to back. It was the Rams, Vikings. And that was a challenging time for me, let's say, especially because my wife wasn't with me. So the first like year or something, so I was just like, it was a dark period.
Just sitting there. Here he comes. Sitting there listening to "Hello Darkness, my old friend."
Yeah, there you go, Mike. You just missed my entire life story.
Fuck's sakes. Sorry. Yeah.
I even wanted to pause it, but then
which is, to be honest, which is fair enough. No, it was the whole thing went down. Even the internet in the house, I've got no idea. Probably just a minor little incursion of, I don't know, some Russian or American military. Anyway,
someone's cut the cables.
I don't know which one is worse.
Yeah, at the moment, who knows? Definitely the Russians. The people in America listen to this, so yeah, let's not go down that route.
Oh yeah,
So where were you?
Are you on a speaker mic? I'm getting an echo.
Yeah, I get a lot of echo as well.
Dan's going to blame it on my age.
I've already done that. We can summarise.
Carry on talking.
Vedran was the only NFL fan in Croatia.
There you go.
Yeah. I'll do a quick summary for Mike so he doesn't feel left out.
You can, but I can't hear you.
So basically,
techno.
I saw in the newspapers about 2005, Katrina, people like sheltering in the Superdome and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. The fact that the whole city rallies around a team and like the whole community is like so kind of intertwined with the city. Then the next year, they started showing it on TV, but I couldn't watch it anywhere because it was like a paid channel, and I was from a third world country back then. So I ended up going to one of the bars to find, I think it was like week, whatever, 12, 13, 14, I don't remember. It was a Steelers-Saints game. And I managed to find a bar that's showing it. The Saints lost, but Breeze had like 400 yards. Still had like almost 200 yards. It was great. And the Steelers were defending champions. So that's when I first kind of fell in love with the team. And then in 2008-9 was the first time, or 9-10, was the first time, whatever, the Super Bowl year, was the first year when they actually started showing it, like when I could kind of watch it fairly regularly. So that was great. I was telling Dan that I felt like I picked the best team in the world. We're going to win the Super Bowl every other year. It's going to be the easiest fan experience of all time. And then
in that period of time since you've been a Saints fan, you have had two little, maybe 4-year periods where it felt that way. So actually, when we feel that we're hard done by, even in that period, we probably had 8 years where we thought, man, we're a contender.
Yeah. The whole time since 2006 onwards, these were the good times, really, compared to the history.
Yeah, we get reminded of that by American fans.
And then, I was saying, and then, I was saying that 2011 was a big year because we started a fantasy league with the other 9 guys who followed it in Croatia because we were on the same forum. And it's such a small community that 2 of them ended up, like today, 2 of them are the broadcasters on TV for the NFL in Croatia. because literally no one gave a shit about the sport. And then I got the NCAA game that year as well, and that kind of messed up my life because I was just playing college football all the time. That's how I discovered like LSU and Tulane and all these. And then, yeah, that was kind of it. And then ever since then, it's been, I think from 2011 on, I've been. I was saying how 2011 I watched the horrible Niners loss. I watched it on my friend's birthday in a nightclub on a 2011 phone. So basically, it was like 4 pixels on my phone in a nightclub. And all my friends are having the best time, and I'm just like about to like hit my head on the wall. I was like, a fucking Vernon Davis piece of shit. How do you have 200 yards?
Like Vedran's really enjoying tonight. He's just calling more shots over, not knowing that he's just like, I can't take this anymore. Just more and more.
Just for myself.
Yeah.
No, we don't need to. We also don't need to have a discussion about Vedran and shots. Jesus Christ! I was telling my wife the other day when
we could.
No idea where
she was saying, "Are you doing a pod?" And I was saying, "Yeah, we're doing it with Vedran." And I was explaining, last year we went to Manchester, and then you were posting the bill, the amount of money that you spent on shots.
Well, I was even brave enough to show it to my wife.
That's not brave. That's just silly.
And then she was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
did you have a good time, darling?
I was waiting for someone to mention shots because I've been saving a little Balkan shot here for the whole time. So I was just waiting for someone to bring up shots.
Well, I was quite ill the next day, as Mike will attest to. I was throwing up in a bar in the morning when we went for breakfast.
Mike, is that the night when you volunteered your bed to someone else and you had to sleep
James
on the floor?
Baker, who I thought I was being a hero, and I always forget that I'm the oldest person in the group. So unfortunately, my bones don't take hard floors like probably some of you young pups do. But yeah, I slept on the floor with my jacket over me, which Mike tried to be a hero. But when I woke up in the morning, I wanted to roundhouse James in his fucking head. But yeah,
as he woke up, he was like, "Oh, what a good night's sleep I've had." Yeah, missed it.
Because he was
missed
supposed
it.
to go home.
Missed
it. Yeah.
Although it was me that left. I left that bar, didn't I, to say I'm going back to the room. And after I walked out, I realised my phone was flat and I didn't know where I was staying. And I was just literally walking around Manchester asking people where the big, tall hotel was, and nearly wet myself in the foyer. And then Mike walks in and goes, "You just got here. You left ages ago." And I was saying, "I need to go to the toilet."
It was a bit of a messy night.
It was a good night.
It was a good night.
Yeah, again, and quite often when we have those UK Saints fan meetups, you're surrounded by really good people, and that's one of the qualities, isn't it? That's a good thing.
It's so nice. It's this is actually the community. This is the community that makes me actually be more online because, like, okay, I'm not relatively young. I'm turning 34 in a month, but I'm one of the most offline people of all time. Like, I just don't do social media. I don't even do like WhatsApp or texting or anything. I just don't. Like, I have friends who live next to me, and that's about it. But then this group is actually what made me start messaging people more and being like more kind of active online and stuff.
Can I just say, when you were over in New Orleans, you were probably the most online person I've ever met in my life, mate. But yeah, again, we will be getting into that.
Well,
we're aware of that, bud. We're fully aware of that.
Well, it's funny you say that about your online presence, because when I said to you, we got a Discord, you was like, "Oh, how millennial." They're taking a piss out of us, and then like a couple of days later, it's like Vedran has joined the server.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say actually is just before we move on is there were definite, and I don't know if you recall, there are definite parallels between the start of Vedran's fandom and my fandom, right? Because you remember my fandom started reading a magazine about Katrina. It was probably a little bit after what you read, Vedran, because mine was about they'd signed Breeze, so it was sort of coming into that 2006 season. They drafted Reggie Bush, so it's coming into that, and it had this great big hope. So it's interesting that we've both got similar origin stories, and it was learning something that stemmed from Katrina and seeing how the city rebounded and rallied around itself that led to us thinking, this seems like a bit of me, this team. So it's interesting.
It is pretty like unique. Like there's not many stories like this in any sport, really. I think it's the only thing I would say that I feel like I've always done wrong as a Saints fan is I have the worst taste in like who I really like as a player. I always tend to pick the shittiest, not shittiest players. Like, I think they're okay players, but like I'm always jealous of the people who are like, "Oh, Drew Brees was my favorite player." I was like, "Oh, that's so nice. That's so easy." for me, it was like my favorite Saint since I've been watching the Saints, and this is gonna sound deranged, is Kenny Vaccaro. I fucking love Kenny Vaccaro so much. And it's mostly just because of that one hit he had on Matt Ryan where he almost knocked him out. And I was like, that's my guy. That's my fucking guy.
But
And
Vedran,
then
that's a little
turns out,
bit like
he
that's a
played
bit
like
like
5
me. My
years in the
favourite
NFL
Saint
before.
ever is Kevin White because he caught one pass on the sideline in a game. I'm gonna have to go and try and get a signed Saints Kevin White jersey.
There's a Kevin White ball
Yeah.
on eBay, right? It's just the shipping
Yeah.
is more than the ball.
Oh,
I was going to
bless
buy
you.
it for
But,
you.
yeah, but the thing about game, that's the same in every sport, though. It's a lot of sports are like that. A lot of people have their favorite player who maybe isn't the best player technically or whatever, but they give them a moment, and a player that gives you a moment they'll resonate with you for life. It's like not in a hurry.
Yeah.
That you try. You remember when CD Juice, Gardner Johnson. That time that he faced up to Tom Brady, it's from a Saints fan in recent history. That's an iconic picture. I've got a T-shirt with it on and stuff, and
Those pictures are
exactly.
so good,
But those are the moments that you sort of think it lends itself to you thinking, that's my guy, even if he is not and obviously there are plenty of people who haven't got a great opinion of Gardner Johnson, and having heard some of the stuff that's come out since, I haven't got the greatest opinion
I
either.
think that's a bit unfair because he's just a bit of a head case.
It's a bit unfair. He's a bit of a head case.
He's just pure. He's just
Yeah.
pure. He's pure in soccer terms. He's pure
without doubt.
shithousery. And we've talked about it before. He's that player. When he plays for your team, you love him because he winds everyone up. He's a pain in the ass, and he gives you those moments. When he's not on your team, you think that guy's
without
such
a doubt.
dick.
That,
He's
like goes.
It's like Draymond Green in basketball. Like if he's not on my team, I actually hate him so much. But then if he was on my team, he'd be the best
and
player ever.
there are loads of players like that. You go back in the annals of soccer, football, and you think about the Robbie Savages and the Vinnie Jones, but there's always a player. For me, funnily enough, and it's a weird one. For like, if I think about it now, somebody who I think's an absolute fucking rat from a soccer point of view in the UK is David Silva. No, not David Silva.
No, what did David Silva do?
David Silva's a pretty nice guy, right? Lovely flowing hair, little sweeping.
I know, I've got the wrong.
Haircut. Who are you thinking of?
I thought of Tevez when he was in United. He was the biggest fan favorite ever, and then just shits on everything. Goes on the parade with like the R.I.P. Fergie things and stuff, and it just completely destroys everything. But they just like it comes with the personality.
And again, I know we're doing a little sports switch here, but again, you think about it now. You think about one of the most beloved people in football punditry at the moment was Ian Wright. Ian Wright was pure shithousery. And you listen to the defenders talk about the way that what he used to do to him, and it was just awful. You remember that 2-footed challenge on Schmeichel in the game, and it was complete shithousery. But those sometimes are the players that everybody loves.
Yeah, but Schmeichel might have said something to him that absolutely was warranted for a 2-footed tackle and more.
Schmeichel probably deserved it,
and a lot more. I think Ian Wright was in his right mind. It was well within his rights to knock his head off his shoulders.
I was getting my Silvers mixed up. Yeah, he's a rat. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah. But that's funny. That's actually the when I became a big Saints fan. That's the team it replaced is Manchester United, because I grew up the biggest Man United fan of all time. I saved money my whole high school, and keep in mind I didn't make any money. I worked as like a promoter in a nightclub, making like 20p per person I brought in. It was and I saved money for like 4 or 5 months so I can go. It was actually a Spurs game at Old Trafford, and when I was in high school, and I flew there. I went to the game, and I was like, "Oh my god, the theater of dreams is gonna be the best day of my life." And then I was like, "The atmosphere sucks. This is fucking terrible. I don't care about this team anymore." And now I've been living in Manchester for 8 years or whatever. I went to United games a few times. Could not possibly care less.
That's mad. It was Spurs, so that's understandable.
Listen, I'm only interested in Spurs season because I just want the pure bizarreness of the fact they're going to get relegated. It's just
I know. Again, we're going off on another tangent, but we are UK based. But I mean, I was reading a report yesterday, and it was from a financial expert, and he was talking about And yeah, again, this will be, I think, relevant and sort of interesting when you think about it from an American football perspective, because obviously in the NFL, you know, you have that thing where, you know, you can finish last, you can get the best pick in the draft, and 3 or 4 years later,
it's
3 or
almost a
4
good
years
thing,
later, you're in the Super Bowl. You know, we just have to look at the Joe Burrow situation. But then the difference is a club as esteemed as Tottenham, if they get relegated in the first year, they think it's going to cost them between 200 and 250 million pounds. And it could actually be catastrophic for them if they don't get up straight away. And that's incredible, because when you look at it from an American football perspective, you're not really going to get a team that is ever going to get into that sort of trouble or that situation. You know, their revenue is guaranteed to them, you know, and the NFL share means that even if you don't bring in that many fans, you're still going to get a huge share of the NFL revenue. And that's crazy, that a team that's, you know, and I say it as an Arsenal fan, they're an esteemed team, they're a historic team. If they go down, it could be catastrophic for them. You know, their revenues next year would just...
We saw it happen to Leeds.
You know, but then Leeds did it in a time when I don't think football finance was as important. You know, when Leeds went down and they sort of fell away, you know, that was it. You know, that was in a time when you were talking about, you know, maybe the top club in the Premier League might make 100 million. You know, that's peanuts compared to what they're making now. And if, you know, and I think it'll be awful. I mean, it'll be glorious. Don't get me wrong. Sorry, what am I saying? It'll be glorious.
Pure bants. Even Tottenham fans
Yeah,
are
I know.
laughing about it. They're
But
just like,
that's
what can
no,
you do?
absolutely.
You got to
I
fucking
get
laugh.
that you have to laugh about it when you're in that situation and you're happening, because what else would you do? You know, you'd be getting too vexed and you'd be having a heart attack. But my issue there is maybe they shouldn't laugh so hard, because if they do go down, they don't bounce back the first time, they're in real trouble. I mean, they're, you know.
And it's the most difficult league in the world.
Yeah, I was just watching the pre-match for the Coventry-Blackburn game. And Tim Sherwood, who I think talks a load of old toffee, he should be on TalkSport, but he did say it's probably the most competitive league in the world, because you see how teams can drop down for the Prem and then end up in League One, and teams can go from League One up to the Prem pretty quickly. You just got to get the momentum in the league.
This wouldn't happen in any other sport, or really any other league. Even like, this is not a thing.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're right. The only way that would even happen across the European leagues is if somebody was found guilty of something and they got points deducted, fined, and they were relegated 2 divisions. It's incredible, because the amount, you know, we again, I think I was saying earlier about Blackburn Rovers, and again, you think about them in the 90s, you know, winning the league, and then, but anyway, sorry, let's move back to
We've digressed.
Let's move across the pond.
Yeah. We'll do a pod talking about football, Dan, soccer, and we'll get a couple of Americans on who think they support a team over here, and we'll have a chat with them.
Yeah, but I think we were up to about 2015 with Vedran and his fandom.
Yeah,
before you came.
I'm sorry, and then I'm sorry, I'm a distraction. I apologise.
You've reappeared.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I do think that probably when I was like finishing, when was that? When I was like in university, so that's like 12, 13 to like 16, 17. That's when I was the most obsessed, as in I had the most free time, because I didn't do fuck all day. So I was just watching everything NFL related. But then I have to say one thing. Maybe two of my favorite Saints memories. I have to admit, still haven't seen a Saints game in New Orleans in person.
This year, my friend.
As long as my wife doesn't hear, we're sitting like 5 minutes to the left. Yeah, it's I've seen 2 Saints games in London. But the best 2 moments for me was none of the Saints games. One was that was many years ago. It was a Lions-Falcons game at Wembley. I went with my ex-girlfriend, and that was like the Stafford Megatron Lions and stuff. It was really fun. And the Falcons were up massively at halftime, and then ended up choking and losing on a last-second field goal. And it was because the Falcons were like the home team, so I was the only person in a Saints shirt there, and it was the best day of my life up to that point. until the 28-3 Super Bowl, when I was doing my masters in Barcelona, and we went to the only bar that was showing it, So the bar shuts down at like 11 p.m. and you have to stay until the morning because they can't legally open it until then. And I took a bunch of my friends because they all knew I was an American football fan, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, what is this sport? What is this?" And the whole, because obviously Pats are such a popular team, and no one gives a shit about the Falcons. So like the whole bar was just Pats fans, and me being there in my. Not only did I have a Saints jersey on, I had a Saints like some kind of hat and like face paint. I just went full on. I was like, "Fuck the Falcons, fuck everything."
The vigor,
And
the vigor
half
of
of the
you.
game, the first half of the game, my friends thought that I was insane because I was the most depressed I've been in my entire life. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I was at the bar alone drinking. I ignored like 6 of my friends that I brought to the bar that night. And but then by the end of the game, when the Pats came back, I was being literally carried around the bar by Pats fans. That was maybe the best day of my life. And the funny thing is, I absolutely hate the Pats. I hate them so much.
I'm the
But
same. I
obviously not as much
despise
as
them.
Brothers. Yeah.
Refers back.
Yeah,
Pure
but
shithousery.
the other thing there is that I'm amazed that Vedran's got any friends, because the 2 times that he's spoken about his 2 bar experiences, it sounds like a right wanker.
Look, I'm a nice guy when I'm sober. Okay.
You're also,
But give him an
Yeah.
open tab.
Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So when did you come over to the UK, mate? All right.
19. So 7 years now. It's actually 7 years. Literally, like probably like in
Okay.
2
And was
days or
that
something.
work related?
So it's been. Yeah. So I used to live in
Yeah.
Portugal with my wife, but then because she's Portuguese, but then there's just no money there. She was making like $1,000 a month as a doctor, and I was just not getting
Yeah.
paid by the company I worked for. So we ended up moving here because just kind of classic immigrant story. You know, I'm not an expat. I'm an immigrant. I just moved here to make a living.
My man, tell the truth. Come on.
But yeah, it's been great. I love it here. I have no plans to leave anytime soon.
What was the and yeah, again, this is probably a little bit more sort of a British related question, but what was it the job for your wife is the reason that you moved to the Northwest?
No, for me, because I worked there for a company that didn't pay me, and then after I quit that job, I couldn't find a different one because I didn't speak Portuguese. And then I got a job offer here, and my wife is a doctor, so she looked up doctor salaries in the UK, and she was like, "Okay, this makes sense." So we just moved here, and it's been I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong, I'm Croatian, she's Portuguese. The weather here is absolutely dog shit. But especially living in the as if you live in the you know how bad it is that like when we went for a holiday in Cornwall once, and I was like, oh my god, this feels like Europe. This is spectacular. It's sunny, beautiful. It's like but by this point I'm kind of used to it. Now our apartment is like -1 level, so it's so dark. It's just.
But also you've got that thing with
and
for anybody who doesn't know, the sort of area that Vedran and his wife live in is you've got your own sort of weather ecosystem, haven't you, because of the Pennines? So you've got this really weird thing, which is Liverpool, which is 30 minutes away in a car, isn't it? Has completely different weather to Manchester, because obviously the reason I know is both my sons live in Manchester, so I go up there. I go up there a hell of a lot. And that's the one thing that they love living in Manchester. But the thing that they say is that the bloody weather, because even if the weather in the UK feels like it's pretty good, Manchester can just be in its own little bloody bubble where it's not quite as good as the rest of the UK. Yeah. And especially, hey, look, coming from Croatia and Portugal, I mean, they come from London. Croatia and Portugal, man, I feel that pain.
But then, look, I would rather be wearing wearing an umbrella and getting paid a proper salary than being in a sunny country and not being able to pay rent.
Exactly. So. That's fine. So when you sorry.
And I was gonna say port's overrated. Port as a drink is overrated as well, isn't it? Right?
So I think this is the thing. A lot of people say this, and I don't necessarily disagree, but it's not a drink as in a drink like how we drink things. It's supposed to be a small glass as a dessert after a meal, but then all of us are degenerates and no one is going to drink like this. So my wife always talks about how the worst hangover of her life is when she just like had a bottle of port on like a night out, and she basically wasn't fine for like a week because it's
I
just
will
not
have
like
any port slander on this pod. I love port. No. I used to go when I was younger. This is younger as an adult when I had Aaron, my first child. Where we lived, my dad used to live 10 minutes away. So every Sunday I used to go and meet my dad for a couple of drinks. And he was the person who got me to drink Guinness because I used to be a beer drinker and it was so gassy. And he was like, just have a Guinness. So I started drinking Guinness with him. But then my dad would have a Guinness, and then he'd say, right, we're going to have a chaser with it, and it would be port and brandy. And that was the chaser that we used to have. And it was absolutely fucking, it was delicious. But every Sunday I went out of him, I was only 10 minutes away. I think I got lost 28 times going home. I was so pissed after meeting my dad. It would be for 2.5 hours, but it was the port and brandy that did me. But next time we meet up, I'm going to get everyone a round of port and brandy, and you can see what I mean about it. But also, when I used to work in the city, we used to go for port quite a lot. I absolutely love it as a drink. Absolutely adore it.
Well, I don't know white port's all right. Have you ever had white port, Mike?
White port is such an elite drink. Not many people even know it exists.
Yeah, I like white port.
Yeah, so right. at our wedding, because we got married in Porto, our go-to drink was the white port tonic. Spectacular.
Look at us giving drinking tips out.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought it? Eh?
Who knows? Right, so we need to cut. So you and your wife have arrived in the UK. So how did you?
The Saints lose to the Rams. The Saints lose to the Vikings. The Saints lose to the Vikings again.
All right, Vedran, I was both those games, so shut your fucking mouth. So, yeah, I was at both of them. Yeah. So what was your
friends? I had friends doing like welfare checks on me after the Rams game. Like, it was because apparently I was posting things on Instagram. They were like very concerning.
All right. So how did you find the Saints community in the UK? Sorry.
So
go on.
One second, Mike. I'm assuming Bill Vinovich is of Croatian descent anyway, right?
He can go fuck himself 1,000 times.
You're disowned. You're ostracized. Your heritage is wiped out.
Him, Belichick, and Saban on the blacklist of evil creations for me. They can all fuck off.
Is there any reason for that, my friend? Is there any explanation for why that might be the case?
Is there any reason for that not to be the case?
Ordinarily, I would say that wouldn't be a fair enough argument, but I'm going to take it. We're going to run with that.
We've entered that point in the pod where the beer
I'm having my first cig, so it must be. Yeah, so you arrive in the UK. So, like you were saying yourself that you don't have a massive online presence, even though 2 seconds ago you said your mates thought you were doing something dark on Instagram. How did you... Yeah, that's when you were a young pup.
Actually, maybe it was those losses that made me not have an online presence.
So how did you find... So what enabled you to sort of find UK Saints fans over here then? How did that come about?
So back in the day, I was on Twitter, which this was actually really lucky because it was right, because Twitter was always I wasn't really a big fan. Yeah, I used to have like a list of like, how you can follow like specific accounts and like topics and stuff. So I had like a Saints or whatever journalist list and stuff. That's pretty good. And I found Dome and James.
Yeah.
And James was saying like, hey, we have this UK group, whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, let me sign me up. And that's kind of how it all started, which is funny because
again, it's a very similar story to most people, because I think a number of people who have, especially people who are slightly older probably than yourselves, who have come on the pod, or have always said, I always thought I was the only Saints fan in the UK. And then, again, our boy, we've done it many a time, but again, a shout out to James at Dome Patrol, because a lot of people,
I think James has been a
lot of people who have found their way towards other UK Saints fans is because of James. And so, I mean, we give James his plaudits all the time, but again, it's another example of
I love James.
Of somebody who found other sort of UK Saints fans, and it's because James sort of put people in touch. So shout out James Baker again. Yeah.
James is the OG.
Yeah. Not when he gets pissed in Manchester and misses his train and then takes your bed. Yeah. No, ordinarily he's the OG.
To be fair, that does sound like it's your fault.
Wait, Vedran, don't get me wrong. It was all my fault. I was trying to be Mickey the superhero, but after the event, I can blame him because he knows I'm 10 years older than him. He should have turned around and went, Mick, don't be daft. You're not going to be able to walk on, even though your knee's okay. If you sleep on the floor because you're old, your knee's not going to be okay in the morning. That's what you should have said to me.
You're 10 years older than me, Mike. Mike, you look great.
Thanks, mate.
What do you mean?
Can we get Vedran on every week?
That's his filter.
Fuck off. Filter.
It's for like a 10-second cameo.
If you keep using that filter, I'm going to start calling you
Yeah.
Mike and the NFL.
Okay, wait. Let me just go to the bathroom and
Yeah,
get a
you
cigarette
crack
because I
away,
saw you
crack away,
smoking now.
bub.
I'm really jealous.
Dan, you need to go fuck yourself with that filter shit. You know how upset I am about that crap. But yeah, I like the play on words there, fella. If there's anybody who does listen to this, they
I'll do what I
might
can.
recognise what you're saying. Matt will
Matt
piss himself.
Cullen's going to love it. He's going to be in his car rolling up. He'd have to pull over at the side of the road, make sure he doesn't end up in a Cambridge canal.
Absolutely. No, it's funny. I mean, veteran stories about being in nightclubs twice is hilarious. Just like as a young lad being in a nightclub and being that hacked off. Genuinely, it was like, can you imagine if you're in a bar in the UK and your mate was running off? Like, and this is before we were massive. You know, I think we both have had an interest in American football for years and years and years. But before you were a big fan, can you imagine being in a nightclub and your mate on his phone on what must have been a Nokia trying to watch a game? Oh my God. That's funny.
I mean, I've done it at other things, events.
Oh God, yeah.
And I haven't done it at like a wedding or anything like that, but I've come pretty close.
The worst time that I almost did it, and I actually had to stop myself, was when I was actually on my honeymoon, and we were on. It was a part where we were on safari in South Africa, and the Saints were playing, and I was like, we'd been out for the night, we come back, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to watch the game. And then I thought, I cannot watch this game because she'll fucking kill me. So I was a hero. I waited until the morning, mate. I got up early and watched it in the morning. I can't even remember who we played, but it was a pre-season friendly. So it didn't really matter.
I just imagine you sitting on a toilet having a dump in the morning watching the game
I'll tell you
while
what
Karen's
I'm going
still
to do.
sleeping.
I'm going to, and with the magic of technology, I'm going to send you a picture of where I was staying when I was watching that game. And as we're talking about it, I want you to slide it in so you can see where. It was magical.
Pardon? All
right, I'm going to say it because
so that kind of podcast, I've got to put
I'm going to say it
on this
I haven't
episode
said
already.
it for a while.
Jesus.
Swiftly moving on. Yeah. All right, so UK, we've spoken about James. Absolutely fantastic that sort of James got you in touch with the group, and it is remarkable. And yet again, we can, you know, I can talk until I'm blue in the face about what James has done for the NFL UK Saints community over here. But it's incredible because the amount of people that you end up getting to meet via that is just remarkable. It's you know, we spoke about
and the one thing I would say is, like, for me, what really kind of made I forgot to bring. It's fine. I have a can for an ashtray. By the way, off topic. Best part of my America trip, fucking American Spirit Blacks. Love it.
All right, we're gonna have to blur. We're gonna have to blur that out. Come on, I fear about having a cigarette. We're not gonna fucking promote cigarettes on here.
I mean, they're not like cowboy cigarettes.
It's the world's cheapest, shittiest cigarette.
Yeah.
But
no,
can
I just say that
me,
Vedran are not advocating that people go out there and smoke. It's a terrible, awful habit, and you shouldn't do it. But I'm gonna.
It is. I don't even smoke. I only smoke when I drink. I never smoked in my life. I only smoke when I drink.
So you drink all the time.
Basically. But no, the one thing for me is that when we had the big meetup for the Vikings game in London, and when I saw how it was a bit disheartening to see how little basically the Saints kind of invested in kind of the fan experience there. But then seeing everyone meet there and like how many people showed up and everyone who was there, even like Nick was there and all these people from the States and everyone is like, remember doing shots with Eric, that was great. And just seeing everyone there, that really kind of validated it for me a lot because I was like, oh wow, this is like a real community. This really means something.
And as you say, that wasn't necessarily supported by the Saints. Well, it wasn't even necessarily. It wasn't supported by the Saints. But the great thing about that was that you sort of talk about the community, and it's a funny thing. It's like I think you have to. It's almost, it feels like you have to be a certain type of person to be a Saints fan because
an alcoholic.
But we're going to get onto that in about 5 minutes when we talk about your trip over there, because I've not been over to the city and like, obviously we've had myself and Dan have had the wonderful opportunity to go over to the city many, many times. but often we go over there with people who have never been over. And whenever you go over with somebody with their first time experience, they are no different than the experience that you had. It's almost like it consumes you. And that's why I say, I think there's a certain type of person in the UK who sort of levitates towards being a Saints fan, because they obviously, it doesn't matter where you live. Like, obviously, if you become a Saints fan, you know the city that they're situated in, and everybody has some idea of what that city's about. And I think even if it's like we always talk about, was it the Saints or the city? I always think there's an element without people even realising it, without even realising that it's the city as well.
Yeah.
They come together. They absolutely come together.
I think your podcast name is perfect. The podcast name is perfect. It's spot on.
I think, and I probably wouldn't have said this 2 or 3 years ago, but I think the only comparable cities from what I know now is if you was a Titans fan and Nashville, because that's a big. I didn't realize how much of a party town Nashville is. But outside of that, I can't. And Vegas, but Vegas is very manufactured to me. I've been to Vegas. I'm going to be there again in the summer, and it's not, New Orleans and Nashville feel like there's something was something else in addition to the teams. Obviously, I think there's a lot more culture around this team than there is the Titans, obviously, because they moved from Houston. But
it's a bit of a bigger city. But the one thing I will say, I met quite a lot of Eagles fans in the last decade, and the people from Philadelphia really, really care about their sports teams.
Yeah,
they really care.
No, and we.
So I don't mind them.
It's like again, if you're looking at it from an American sports perspective, and we always say to people, like I always say, and I think it's a little bit of our mantra now, which is like if somebody ever says to me what team I support, and I've had this with friends of my youngest child, and I always say, and I think Dan does now the same. I think it's support a team of a city that you want to visit. Now, obviously, you're talking about Philadelphia, hugely passionate. I know Chicago when I was there last year, not even talking to Bears fans, talking to people who lived in Chicago, love their city. And also their city is beautiful and it's vibrant and it's brilliant. And there are probably, I'd say, 4 or 5 cities, probably in the US, which are that type. You know, maybe Tennessee might be one. You know, obviously Philadelphia is. Obviously Chicago is. Maybe
Seattle. I'm not sure what Seattle's like, but
so
maybe.
I think there is a select group of cities which are maybe a reflection of their teams.
It's definitely not the Jacksonvilles of the world.
Yeah.
And then you got those sort of Rust Belt cities, which, you know, if you're a fan of the team, I'm sure you love going there, but I don't see a big appeal of going to Cleveland or something like that, you know.
I mean, whoever saw an appeal of going to Cleveland?
All right, Vedran, don't try and get a... Can I just say, Vedran, don't say that, because I think me and Dan, over the time that we do the pod, whenever we talk to somebody and we're talking about the city of New Orleans, I think we say Cleveland every fucking time.
No, Cincinnati.
But all the jokes and Saints things aside, I feel like Cleveland almost gets like, and I've never been, probably never gonna be there, but like I feel like it always gets a unnecessarily bad rap, because even before I went to the States, before I knew anything, I always just heard, Cleveland. Don't go to Cleveland. What's Cleveland? It's just LeBron. That's it. It's so yeah.
I'm not sure where he's gone now. I normally say about he's here, he's there, he's everywhere. So Scarlet Pimpernel gone outside.
I think my wife won't let us buy a house just because she knows I did like a little bar man cave.
My wife was talking to me the other day. She's saying, should we look at like moving somewhere else, changing the area and getting out of London a bit? And my first thought was, it's going to cost me a fortune to build another bar.
And again, I would agree with you, because obviously where I lived and where I moved from, I had the bar, as you know, Dan, because you came and saw it. I had that bar purposely built, but I wasn't going to do that again because it cost so much bloody money. And so I had to find a property that had something that I could actually make into a bar. And even though yet again, we're having some work done in here, you sort of, you try and, you're trying to make it into something that is probably not like I used to love being in my last. Hey, look, I'm going down a route, which is I'm privileged to be able to have a bar. So again, I need to shut up a little bit.
We are all privileged to have the. We are all privileged to have the lives that
but
we
also
have. And it's always important.
Hey, look, I've got a space. I love it.
And it's that privilege that gets us to be able to go to New Orleans, which is a
Hey.
lovely segue into Vedran's trip.
Yeah, hey, look, mate.
Hey,
And he's got the
That's
T-shirt. He's got the goods.
I was going to
He
say
knows the
Vedran's
score.
my brother, but actually I'm old enough to be his dad. Look at my son. I'm so proud. My third son.
by the way, what is your son that we met in
That's my
Manchester? Is that your
oldest
older or
son,
younger
yeah.
son?
Yeah.
He was great.
Oh, he
Such
loved
a nice
meeting
guy.
you guys. Yeah,
did
yeah,
well, you did well.
he absolutely loved you. And it's great because obviously I think a little while ago on the Saints WhatsApp group, I put a poll up about the possibility, obviously, if we have a Saturday game, of meeting again for a pre-season game somewhere. And it's got to be Manchester.
happening.
It's got to be, yet again, if I think about it, the amount of people who are immediately around that area, it's got to be that one. I'm going up there anyway because my kids live up there. And also the Brotherhood, where we watched the game, was so accommodating. That little space at the top was brilliant.
Class.
So yeah, I think
3.5 pound struts.
yeah, I'm gonna get your wife's details and just say, can you take your husband's card off him because he doesn't need to be getting those shots.
I have 3 more. Don't worry about it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But no, it should definitely, that pre-season trip should definitely be done again in Manchester because it was a glorious night and it was great. So many people turned up for it.
Funnily enough, my wife was actually kind of telling me to get more involved with the group and make an effort to like hang out and go to all the meetups and stuff because I think she sees how happy it makes me, and that's a pretty special.
That in itself is a very special thing. Yeah,
May 30th. It's going down.
So you need to.
It's happening. It's my birthday weekend.
Oh, come on.
My birthday is like 3 days before that.
Hey,
so
look, you got to be there.
yeah. I was supposed to do like a friend's trip somewhere abroad for my birthday, but I just kind of binned it so that I can go to London for this.
Dan, do you hear how privileged you are? He's looking at something on his phone.
Sorry. No, do you know Mick from NFL Ireland asked me about if I could do the pick for Jeff's draft again this year.
Right,
I was just replying to him because he's
So obviously you and your wife went to New Orleans literally about a week and a half ago, wasn't it, mate? So what was the build up to that? Because obviously,
we came back. Yeah, we went there for I think 9 days, 10 days.
Because obviously, from a Saints fan's perspective, when people think of their first trip to the city, normally they're going to it's sort of going to coincide with a game. What was the thinking? Was it a timing situation, or was it just actually I want to try the city before I do the game? How did it come about, Bob?
Well, I wouldn't say I want to try the city. Well, obviously, I will go to a bunch of games. That's not after this trip, that's for sure. But for me, and even what I said, like about the story, how I discovered the Saints and stuff, is like it was primarily about the city and the community that revolves around the Saints and everything. Since I've been, I said this to a lot of people in New Orleans. They found it really funny that like when I was even younger, they would sometimes show the family from Dragos as like an example of like a successful immigrant family abroad from Croatia, because they moved there in like the 60s or whatever. And New Orleans, actually, you're right. New Orleans has a lot of Croatians because even we did like a walking tour, like a food walking tour in Garden District, and the lady that was leading the tour, she has Croatians in her family. So basically, any city in the world that is like a port city, there's going to be some Croatians there because we're a country of like shipbuilders and sailors and stuff like this. So any place in history where you could move 100 years ago and either work on boats or work in some kind of trade or something, there is going to be some Croatians there. And we are one of the countries actually with the most, because the country only has like 3 million people, but there is something like 6 million people living abroad with Croatian roots. So it's easier to find a Croatian in Australia or in New Orleans or in even like East Coast. Even like East Coast in the States, there's a lot of them as well. Like I think the mayor of Chicago was Croatian a couple of years ago. That was pretty cool. So basically, I always wanted to go, obviously. And for years, I kind of planned it. But then my wife went with me to a couple of NFL games. But then it was always the London games. And I go to them, but I don't actually like them. I think they're shit because seeing all this, like the fact that everyone is a fan of any team and it's all this, like there's no atmosphere. It's a bit shit. I don't really like it.
That fake pageantry, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And also all the Jags fans, like, come on. It's like, come on, find a better team to support.
Put that beer and cigarette down. You get into it's like truth serum.
No, have some more. Have some more.
how many Jags fans are listening to this realistically?
Yeah. Half
Maybe-
of one, if you
yeah.
know what I mean, Dan.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been planning this trip for years, obviously, and then it was always the plan to do like an Saints LSU weekend, and especially now that I know Shane, this is definitely happening. What a guy, Shane, by the way. If he's listening to this, fucking love you, Shane. You're one of
Literally,
the greatest
Shane
guys.
is the most loved person that I know in any community I've ever been in. So yeah, shout out, Shane.
But he's
Yeah,
such a
absolutely.
nice guy. Such an outrageously nice guy. So this year basically. So I always wanted to go. My wife was always like, she also didn't necessarily want to go to the States and stuff, and she was like, oh, it's a kind of a weird time, blah blah. But I was like, okay, I don't care. And then she had like a little gap in her work because her work is quite like structured. She can't really take holidays at random times. And then she had like 10 days free during this time, and it was probably like in March. And she said this, and I was like, I just looked up the flights, and I wanted to go originally when there was the French Quarter Festival, but then she couldn't make it work with her work. So I was like, fuck it, let's go like 10 days before, because it's probably going to be a bit cheaper, a bit emptier, but it's still going to be the same level of fun. And then I also feel, and I think I was 100% spot on this, is that I know my wife, and she hates cities with no personality, and she loves cities that really have like a personality and a vibe to them, and kind of like a where you go there, you remember the place for the atmosphere, not necessarily for the sightseeing or the museums or whatever. So we went now, and it was probably the best time to go with her as well, because it was not too busy. Because I was telling you, Mike, that like the day we were leaving, it was sorry, just need to remove my stupid cat from the. She always gets jealous when I have even with work. She gets jealous when I have work calls. She tries to get on my laptop, and we went on like a quiet week, I guess, even though there was like the Easter parade and stuff, which was great fun. And I just wanted to go there and experience just the people and the culture and the atmosphere and stuff. And to say that it lived up to the expectations would be a massive understatement. Like, I think it was 100 times more than what I expected. It was, I never felt more welcome anywhere. Also, people hearing that I was a Croatian fan who's really into the Saints, they were super confused because 90% of them never heard of this country in the first place. And the other 10% and the other 10% went on holidays there like in the last 5 years.
Croatia, is that in Florida?
Yeah, no, it was.
I'm sorry.
No, the best question is, was that the Soviet Union?
Dear.
And I was like, close, but no.
But then
they get in. They tried,
and it's a funny one, isn't it? Because obviously, like, myself and Dan have talked about, and also not only talked about, have been to Mardi Gras, Jazz Fest, French Quarter Fest, all those sort of things, but you don't have to go over when there's something going on to that city. That's the other thing. It's like you can just go there and you can just freestyle it, and it really does not matter because, and I'm sure you'll get onto it, Vedran, the people that you meet, and we've spoken about this so many bloody times, like the people that you meet and the conversations that you have are just incredible. So, obviously the situation was, obviously your wife had that window of time, so you took it. So you go over. So what's the first experience that you have? Yeah. What were you doing?
Well, first of all, I was blessed to have all the recommendations from you guys on where to go and what to do, which proved to be absolutely spot on. Every place I went to was incredible. And then it's just, we've never experienced like such a welcoming community of people. It was, everyone is so open. Also, the two kind of fun facts for me that also made the trip way better than I thought it would be is, first of all, because it's like a kind of swamp adjacent city, I thought it's going to be so many mosquitoes. There was no mosquitoes. That was spectacular because I fucking hate mosquitoes so much. That was great. And then,
Vedran, can I just say something? You were going over there in 2026, not 1926, mate. Where
I come from, there's so many mosquitoes. It's terrible. And I'm even living in Portugal, it's just mosquito land. So no, that was lovely. But then so we went there. We did I think 8-9 nights. I don't remember. And we just kind of went. When we go anywhere, we don't really have a very structured trip. We just go kind of go with the flow, follow the vibe, see where it takes you, who you're gonna meet. End up in Erin Rose every day. But it was just starting with Easter parade. That was such a fun experience because we did the Garden District tour that morning, then ended up back in town, back in French Quarter for like the gay Easter parade, which was just absolutely hilarious. And to me, the biggest takeaway is how many people I met there for like a couple of hours, having a couple of drinks with them, whatever. Literally, they invite you to their house. They invite you for dinner. They invite you. I met a guy who was like the like the master of the Mardi Gras parade in Shreveport, and he was like he's reaching out even now. He's like, oh, you gotta come next year. We'll put you on the parade. You gotta come, bro. It's like people are just so nice, and also met like a disproportionate number of people from Shreveport as well. So I feel like at some point I'll have to go there. He's gone again.
It's gone again.
Fuck's sake.
There he's gone. I mean, he probably pressed mute and hung up.
Showing his age.
What I found funny is when you were saying about, oh, I've met this guy and he said to me to come to this bar and this place, and Eddie in our Discord, who's from New Orleans, he was just like, whereabouts is this? He was almost like trying to make sure you wasn't going anywhere. It was a bit sketchy. He was like, whereabouts on that street is that bar? And that's just, I just like that because it's just like looking at, like, you've never met him. You've only just been chatting to him in the Discord. He's looking out for you. I think that's pretty cool. And I think that's, you know,
It's
everyone
so nice.
when I go to New Orleans always says to me, like, you know, if you be careful and if you need anything, here's my number. If you get caught in the dark, I've never ever been.
I didn't feel at all like I needed to be
either.
particularly careful at all.
Yeah.
It was obviously like, okay, it helps that I'm a fairly like large white man, so like I'm gonna be fairly okay as well. Plus, I always had like a Saints jacket and stuff, so I didn't maybe look as touristy as some other people. I didn't have any of the beads and shit. It was just like the people. I feel like on this trip I made friends for life, from just people I met on random nights out, and from people from all over the place as well. Well, first of all, I have to say about New Orleans, the food and the drinks, my God. Like, I've traveled the world a fair bit. Like, I love traveling. I have never eaten or drank as well as I have in New Orleans. It's been like unbelievable. I think I gained like about 4 kilos in a week. That was pretty good. Don't regret any of the grams that I put on. This was so worth it.
It was like when you messaged him, and you was like Hammond Brewery. I think it's my new favorite or whatever it was. It was when you was on the Ghost and the Machines.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that beer. Oh my God, that. We had a love-hate relationship with that beer for a couple of days. It was
Love drinking it, hated waking up with it.
no, but I didn't even know that beer was really strong because in England, like for example, like now I've been drinking these like IPAs or whatever, and it's like 4.5% or something. But then that one was like 8%, and then I was like, oh, this is delicious beer, it's lovely. And then I think Mike was like, oh, you should check the ABV on this, and I was like, and I checked it, I was like, oh fuck.
I think Mike, it wasn't that, but I think Mike and Steve learnt the hard way. They went out drinking a couple of visits ago, and they was drinking Voodoo Rangers and didn't realise that they were just proper pokey, like 8-9%. And I think Steve nearly got his head taken off by a streetcar trying to get a ridiculously cool photo, and that's how drunk they were.
I don't even know where to start, to be honest, because I feel it was only like 8-9 days or whatever, but it felt like, you know, you're normally like when you have fun, it feels like a week goes by in like a day. But I feel like in New Orleans, every day was such an adventure that it feels like I was there for a month. There was so much going on, and it was just, I mean, if I start talking about all the bars and all the restaurants and stuff I like and food, oh my God,
it's such a small big, like a small big city, if that makes sense. That you can
it's
you
really
can
small, but
crisscross
there's so much going on.
Yeah, you can pretty much be on the other side of the city in like 10 minutes in an Uber, and it's so easy to get around, and you can feel like you're in completely different places all the time, and it makes it feel like you've elongated your trip just by being like in a garden district or uptown, or, you know, over in Metairie or wherever you want to go, French Quarter, Seventh Ward.
Well, we were staying in close to the convention center, so that's like CBD.
I stayed in that hotel you stayed in.
Which was kind of perfect because it's like a 20-25 minute walk from French Quarter. So when I'm going home from Erin Rose at 3 a.m, it's like a nice little walk to kind of sober up a bit. It was perfect.
I'm not sure I'd do that walk at 3 a.m. on my own, but fair props to you.
To be fair, there are a couple of walks that we did last time we were over during the middle of the day that you weren't sure about. So I'm not surprised to hear that one.
I don't necessarily feel like at threat, but I was like, that street was pretty isolated. I was like,
but you, and yeah, again, the thing about it is, like, we say it to everybody who goes, like, you've got to obviously be aware of where you're going and the areas that you're walking into. And that's not a disrespect to New Orleans, because if someone came to London, I tell them you need to Exactly. You need to be very aware when you go into this area or that area. Just be aware.
Yeah.
Like you could go
So
to the
there's no issue with that.
Shard in. I was going to say you go to the Shard in London.
Yeah.
You walk 10 minutes in the wrong direction, you're in Bermondsey, and I'm like, you don't want to be in
Yeah.
Bermondsey. So
No.
yeah.
And
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
and that's the thing. And I know your that Dan's thing is like if a local has taken him there, he's okay with it. It's like if a local has brought me to an area, then you feel a little bit better about being in that area, don't you?
Yeah, and it's the same with anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think for me it was really helpful that I went to university in Barcelona, which is like the most kind of
Yeah.
keep your wits about yourself and like make sure you don't get pickpocketed or like scammed by someone and stuff.
Yeah.
And if I could survive that year there, being completely hammered the whole year and never had any problems with anything, I feel like that really set me up for like for a good
For life.
experience everywhere else. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's true because like most of my friends there got pickpocketed, some of them got beaten up, whatever. So they got this stuff stolen and stuff. I never had any problem. Also because like every time, if I have a couple of drinks, I become like overly cautious about all my stuff. Like I'm checking my pockets 7 times per minute and stuff. Like it's just smart stuff. But then I never felt like I was really treated like a tourist in New Orleans. That was the biggest surprise because I thought everyone's gonna see me and be like,
But then the part, but also I think Vedran, part of the thing there is like if you don't act like a tourist, you don't get treated like one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And yet again, there's a certain, and I've got that. You know, yeah, again, living in London, a bit like Dan did, but I lived in really rough areas of London, but. You just you have to you take your day the way it is, and I've always been like that in New Orleans. You know, maybe the first couple of times when I went with my wife, I was a little bit more wary, but since then, I don't really give a damn. I really don't, and I don't walk around like I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing. And I think sometimes that makes a huge difference.
I also think it was quite smart for me to go with my wife the first time because she's a very grown up kind of
Sensible.
smart person. Well, she's a doctor, you know, like she has her shit under control. Because like if there's any flaw that I have in terms of like traveling, I'm a bit too easygoing. So if someone tells me, "Hey, go with me to this random place," I'd be like, "Fuck yeah, let's go."
Yeah.
Look, I'm no Alex, but I'm
Hey, look, we're talking old Alex, not new Alex. Old Alex, yes, I agree. New Alex is a slightly different character now, which for
Are
him
you
is
saying
great,
Alex has grown
which
up?
is good.
The demons are still there.
He's being told to behave. I think is
He
the
needs that
difference.
visa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, like for me, go on.
No, sorry, but I was going to say, I think where you were saying about going over with your wife for the first time, because like we had a little interaction where I was like, obviously the excitement that you go for the first time and the fact that you had a distant view and a love of the city, obviously of the Saints as well. I said every single time you go over, there's a little bit more where but you sort of breathe a little bit more because obviously there's an excitement beyond belief. But every other time that you go there, you just learn to breathe a little bit more, and it's still as honestly, Vedran, it's as fascinating and as brilliant, and I love it and it's exciting. But you just breathe a little bit more every other time that you go there.
And that's kind of the thing that I was surprised by is because I had some concerns that I would be like too excited. I want to do everything. I want to do whatever. I want to do all this crazy shit. But then it felt so relaxed the whole trip. I never really felt like a tourist. Obviously, I don't know the place, but like I never really felt like a tourist. I felt like I never felt outside of my comfort zone in any way. It was just, and my wife was the same. And like it just felt like a really comfortable kind of homey place to be in. It was, and then all the food and the restaurants and the bars and the
What was the favorite thing that you had to eat? What was the favorite thing that you ate when you were over there, Vedran?
It's two things probably. It's the charbroiled oysters for sure. That became almost like a daily staple. I think on the last day I got 2 plates of it right before we got on the flight because I was like,
Vedran,
because that might be the single most delicious thing I've ever had in my whole life. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, I love them.
And then and the po' boys, my god. Like the po' boys are especially like the beef po' boy, because I went there expecting I want to think like the shrimp po' boy is the best. The beef po' boy is, my god, unbelievable.
Me and Mike haven't haven't done a pod since, well, a long time, but we obviously was in New Orleans in March for our Eric J. Bird's wedding, wonderful event.
Beautiful wedding.
Beautiful. But we went over, it was in and out job for me, but we went over to Cooter Brown's, wasn't it, Mike?
Jesus, and that po' boy was unreal.
Like, low key,
unreal.
Might be the best po' boy I've had. Surf and turf. It was, the roast beef was unreal. Big old bits of battered shrimp on there.
Yeah.
The roast beef is, people think about seafood. A lot of people talk about fried oysters and shrimp and catfish, but those roast beef po' boys are something
it's
else.
unbelievable.
So
because like we did our honeymoon in Vietnam, so obviously we had like the banh mi's and everything there, and banh mi was banh mi, one of my favorite foods of all time. And then going there and seeing po' boys, which is kind of the same but like more Americanized, as in like it's way juicier, it's way kind of heavier, but it's also like the world's greatest baguette, the world's greatest piece of bread you'll ever see.
It's phenomenal.
Spectacular.
I'd say it would be to be honest now, like that the and fair play, thanks to our friend Eddie who took us over there. That po' boy at Cooter Brown's, and so for me now it'd be Lizzie by the Track, Cooter Brown's, and Parkway. I'd have to have a. I was going to say
freeway with
but that sounds like a bit Homo sapien. But I mean, genuinely, it's like. But also, it's like I've had. I can't even tell you how many po' boys I've had over there, and I literally don't think there's one where I've thought.
Is it called Parasol? Spectacular in Garden District.
I've never been to Parasol.
Really, really, really good. And then there was another bar in Garden District. I forgot what it's called. It was like a big kind of sports bar type thing. Delicious po' boys. Plus, my wife loves oysters, and there was a guy there who apparently only comes on Sundays. He brings like fresh oysters, and he just like makes them, like shucks them there and makes everything spectacular. It was so nice.
So is your wife a huge fan of raw oysters?
Yeah. Well, she's a big foodie as well. So it's that's honestly the biggest compliment I can give in New Orleans, is that I think my wife enjoyed this trip pretty much as I did.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that kind of I was always a bit concerned, because the reason I didn't take her to a Saints game, because I was like, it's gonna be a lot of sports. It's gonna be, and like she enjoys it because I enjoy it. So like she enjoys seeing me happy and excited. But I was like, if I take her now, she's gonna experience the city, the culture, the food, the drinks, everything. And then in the future, this makes it way easier to go on any stupid trips I want to go on.
Do you know? So a funny one on that, and I'm gonna come back to because I think Dan was like almost like into the point about the why sort of thing. The really funny thing about when you go over for a Saints game, even if you're only there for like 3 or 4 days, when you go over for a Saints game, the Saints game doesn't take over your whole life. You still experience the city in the same way. It's like the Saints game is the
cherry on the cake. Yeah.
Yeah. The Saints game is Sunday, but also the funny thing about it is, like, the Saints game is Sunday. If you go to a tailgate, or more often than not, people will go and meet in a bar, and you still have a great lead up to it. Then you hit the Saints game, and every time after the Saints game, it's like you just go and do what you want, because it's right. I mean, it's literally 10 minutes away from wherever you want to go. So if you think, right, been to the Saints game, I want to go and grab some food.
For an American city, it's incredible how central the stadium is.
Which is why, obviously, obviously with the last Super Bowl over there, that's why they're just thinking, man, get this place on the rotation. Because it is literally, we were having a discussion in our Discord about the World Cup that's happening in America.
And like the Giant Stadium, maybe the least accessible place in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so suddenly it's like, obviously I get soccer, football, European football or world football doesn't have tailgates, but they're like saying, well, you can't have a tailgate. But then you've got the surroundings of the MetLife Stadium has probably got parking for about 4,000 or 5,000 cars, and they're now saying you can't park here. And it's like, really? But then you could park over the road, and it's going to cost you $200. The train that you normally get from Penn costs you about $12.
Now it's $100.
That's now $100. Yeah. It's just like, it's exploitative, and it's disgusting, and it's nasty, and it's vile. I think the way they're, and I'm not talking about America. I'm talking about FIFA.
Yeah,
it's FIFA that are doing that.
That's the problem, because like I used to go.
Exactly.
Like Croatia is a huge football country, so I used to go with my friends always to like Euros and World Cups when they were in Europe and stuff. I even went to Brazil for a game in the jungle.
Wow.
Well, I took a charter flight.
Hates mosquitoes though.
Oh, it was that was the worst. You don't understand. That's why I hate that. Because
All right, yeah. Fair
because
enough.
someone dropped out and I got on the flight and it was a charter flight to Manaus in the fucking Amazon fucking rainforest. We flew in, went to the game, got McDonald's, and then went back home. I literally flew a total of, I don't know, 20 hours to be there for like 12 hours. It was great fun, but also maybe the worst experience of my life. And because I came back covered in mosquitoes like I was in a war zone, it was horrible. So
You went you went all the way to Brazil. Did you say you got a McDonald's?
yeah, they had a McDonald's there. Well, in my defense, I was like 20. I was like 19, 20 years old. It was like a long time ago.
Yeah. I don't.
All right, Derek
I'm
Carr,
not.
get your Chipotle.
I wasn't laughing at your youthful enthusiasm, my friend. But that was just funny. That was funny anyway.
But yeah, no, I think go on,
Bob.
No, but like the one thing, obviously, like Mike, you're a big Aaron Rose aficionado yourself.
I can see that pumping on your chest, my friend.
So that place triggered something in me that I haven't felt in many years because, well, first of all, I think it's a big mistake that Europe doesn't really have dive bars because like I like a pub and stuff.
Yeah.
Pubs are fine, but dive bars are next level. And then for me, when I was younger, when I finished my uni, I had what people now like to call a gap year, but I like to call it a mental breakdown year. And I finished my masters, and I went to work in a party hostel in Budapest for a year.
Yeah.
Because I just was kind of fed up with all the corporate stuff and it's not really my jam. Even though now I have a corporate job, but my boss is not listening to this, so it's fine. I don't really belong there at all.
In your heart, but in your heart of hearts, like, hey, look, everyone that has to make a living, but in your heart of hearts, yeah, we get it.
Yeah,
I want to be a cowboy.
Yeah, and that,
exactly.
The reason I loved being in those hostels was because it was like it was almost like a conveyor belt of like random people from all over the world that you just get to talk to and meet and like create these like short-term but like really intense relationships. And the fact that Aaron Rose is a dive bar but like in a touristy place, so it's not just like the local alcoholics that is there, it's like everyone is kind of there. And just, well, but it's true, because if you go to like a dive bar in like New York or somewhere in like a whatever random neighborhood, it's just going to be the local 20 guys there every day.
Yeah.
And we met a few of those too, and just being there, we went there on the first day and we just met so many people, and then we just ended up going there pretty much every day. And
do you know what sorry, Vedran.
Yeah, go on.
So, do you know what I love about a dive bar, right? Is the fact that you can go and sit at the bar and you sit at the stall and you can order your drink and you can stay there and carry on drinking. If you sat at a bar in the UK and ordered your drink and carried on staying there, someone would be like, can you fuck off? I want to order. Well, over there, it's like, that's fine. You can sit at the bar. That's part of the
also
what you expect. And I love it.
Dan,
I love it.
But also on that is like, if you're at a bar on your own, and you know me, Dan, even when we've been out there together and whatnot, I always end up at a dive bar, notably probably Aaron Rose, and I might be there on my own. The amount of conversations I've had there, the amount of contacts that I've had there, like the manager of Brennan's, like 2 years ago, was like giving me his card saying, if you want a table, come in. And it is, you know, and I think I sent a message to you, Dan, didn't I, saying, I've got to tell you this tale. And I literally spent about 2.5 hours the last time I was over. And this was the night, you know, when you were checking out in the morning, we had to both check out and you were going home.
I know, you got back to the room at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah. But I was at the bar and I was talking to a couple of people that I knew there. But then, and it was a really weird one because this stripper came in from a club and she was sitting, genuinely, she was sitting next to me.
I know where this is going.
And no, you don't know it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I was just I was talking to the barman, I was chatting to her, and she was like saying, you know, I'll have a drink, sort of there. Oh, where are you from? UK. And I spoke to her about her life. She was 43 years old, and she was saying, I can't believe I'm still a stripper in New Orleans. Very educated, very lovely girl. And we literally spoke for about an hour and a half. And all I spoke to her about was my family, my wife, everything. And she was talking to me about, you know, why I'm over there. And I was also explaining to her that I need to be away on my own at times for my own mental health, because I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to go and actually put myself in a position where I'm uncomfortable. I genuinely had the most brilliant conversation with her, you know, because you were telling us the security staff at Aaron.
Yeah.
You got friendly with him. You know, you're Fired. Did you meet Fired? He's the not so big guy with the bald head. Fired.
The other doorman, the
glasses.
super friendly one.
Yeah, the other day. Yeah, not yeah.
The nicest guy of all
Really
time.
good friend of, yeah, really good friend of mine. He was there that night. I was talking to her, and like a pair of us were talking, and we were talking about life. And it was like I was sitting there thinking, I know. I sort of said, "Oh, she was a stripper." It didn't fucking matter to me, you know. We were talking about life, and that's the thing about that type of dive bar is that you get there. There's no ulterior motive.
It's people
For
from
me,
all
it was
walks
just
of life.
like, exactly. And that's a great, and also the other thing, and you'll know this, Vedran, if you're there late enough in the night, all the service staff start coming in, and they are the fucking
That's
best
like
people
the
to
2
talk
a.m.
to.
time when like everything else starts kind of slowly closing, and then it just because there was a few days when we were there from like whatever 5 p.m. until concerning late, and and it gets
fucking
and
hell.
it's like
I break it up, Vedran. I break it up, mate. I go up to Frenchman or whatever, but
I don't break anything up. It's I was just there, and then it's really
He's
busy,
all
and then
in.
it gets
He's all in.
and then it gets a bit quieter, and then and then
yeah,
and then at
and
some
then
point all of a
it
sudden it's
comes
the middle
back
of the
up.
night, and it's it's
yeah. And
because, like,
that's my and we have this. But we have this also, and it's like, I know Dan now loves the bar, and I always used to love the bar. And then I think you stay round the corner, Dan. It's Little Bar and Graveyard, and I love it for the same reason that I love the Aaron Rose. Is if you're there late enough, all the guys who work in the service industry come in,
and those are
and
the
then
best
you have
people.
a real fucking but you have a real conversation. And don't get me wrong, they're not all saying that, oh, this city's great. They tell you exactly what they think about the city. They tell you exactly about how they feel they're exploited, and they're absolutely right. And they just tell you truth after truth after truth. So you get a real perspective on everything. And I love going to those bars.
Right.
And I love when, as you were saying, you met so many locals. I love when you meet either people who are local or people who work in the area, and they can tell you a little bit of honesty about the place that you're drinking in.
Yeah, well, it was like the friendly security guard. He was like the doorman. He was even saying how he was like, "Oh, it's the best city in the world." But then he was like, "Oh," he was like, "My daughter got whatever shot going home from school and shit." And I was like, "Oh my god!" It's like this city. I mean, I'm not an idiot. I know the city has a very dark side. It's just that we don't end up going there.
Yeah.
But even he was like, "It's the best city in the world."
No.
Yeah, and I do love what you said is like what the service industry people and stuff, because like until I got stuck in the corporate hamster wheel 10 years ago. I always used to work in hospitality, even from when I was like 12, 13. But third world country, no one cares about like if you're legal or whatever. You just get cash in hand. You're 14 years old working in a bar. It's fine. But I know that like those people have the best stories, and they have the most like authentic stories. And it's
exactly. The most honest story is about life in the area they're living in. I want to go very quickly back to a point, because I think Dan was touching on it a little bit earlier, and I think you've had it, Vedran, which is when you go over there, like obviously you've got a heightened expectation about what it's going to be and what you want it to be. But the great thing is that we know that your wife loved it as well, which I know with Nick, with Dan, and the kids, they all love it. And it's always a great thing when you go over there and your partner or your children think, oh my God, I can see why this guy wanted to come here, and also now why he loves it.
It validates your own opinions and feelings as well. That's the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like I'm not crazy about this.
Yeah, I got my kids begging me to go to Mardi Gras in a minute, and I'm like, it's just there's no point.
Wait, Mike,
right?
aren't you going in like 2 weeks or something, or a week?
Funnily enough, I got permission off Karen to try and do a last minute trip to Jazz Fest. But it's just like, it's too expensive. You know, last minute, I mean, me and Dan have been to Jazz Fest, and we sort of organised it in really good time, and you sort of get the hotel deals, and you get this and you get that. I was looking at it and it was just way too expensive to even contemplate it. But yet again, it's a great thing. For me, my wife looks at me sometimes, you think, and I think I was saying earlier, I've got this really thing about where I'm introverted, and I actually go over to New Orleans, and Dan will tell you, whenever we go over to New Orleans together, I'll go a day before or 2 days before, and I'll always come back a day after or 2 days after. And it's not because I'm trying to be the big I am. I want to be over there a little bit more. I have to have time on my own in the city because I have to put myself in uncomfortable situations where I talk to somebody. And it's like a therapy to me because I'm a bit of an introvert.
You're a really well socially adjusted introvert.
Yeah, but also I've had therapy and I've spoken to my therapist.
Say, my wife is a psychiatrist. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, exactly. So I've had conversations where it's a really good thing for me to do. And so I keep trying to apply it. And it really does work well for me. If I've had a good trip away where I've been on my own for a period of time and I've spoken to a lot of people, there's almost like a validation that comes through, which is actually you can do this.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I come back to the UK and I get a little bit too introverted and into my own bubble. And so it works for me.
I reckon every married man listening to this podcast right now is going to text Mike and go, "Can I have a number for your therapist? Because that sounds like I'm getting some passes." It's going to be this therapist is going to get the most amount of business
but also, Dan,
off this podcast.
No, you're right. But also the other thing that comes there is trust. My wife trusts me, so
no. I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I get
what you
get a pass to go away on their own.
I get. Yeah, no, I get what you mean, but also it's like my wife knows I don't go. I've just spoke to you about the fact that I talked to a woman who was a stripper for an hour and a half. I got no issue talking about that because we weren't talking about that. We were talking about her life choices, my life. I got no issue with it. It doesn't bother me. Yeah, we probably should get to that point where we say, and on this note, probably tie it up. Dan, anything else you want to ask our guest, or you want to say yourself?
I've got one question. No, I got one question. And whilst there wasn't a game on, how did it feel to actually see the dome for the first time? And for most people, it is on that cab journey from the airport. We've touched on this loads of times. But how did it feel for that first time? You're like, there it is.
It felt. I kept telling my wife that it's like, you know how there's a lot of those people who are like very like Disney fans, and they always want to go to Disneyland. That's kind of how I felt when I was there, because I was like, it's this. Yeah. But also, if you think about, like, if I go back 20 years, when I first like heard of the Saints and everything, it almost validates my entire life, because if I think about how far away that was, how far away I was from any kind of community that could actually follow this, and the fact that I managed to build my life in a way that I can actually now go there and experience this firsthand and have this amazing community of people here who are equally passionate as I am, in way more, even some of you. And it's just, it's one of those things that, like, it makes life make sense to me. And it was because we went to the Superdome on a day when there was no one there. And also, unlike European stadiums, the fact that they don't do any tours or anything is kind of wild. But but just like walking around and stuff and seeing everything and just seeing everyone there like wearing like Saints clothes and everything, I was like I just had so many moments of like, oh, it's like, I can't believe this is real. It's like, I can't believe I made it to this.
Yeah, I remember that my first trip. It's like, yeah.
I mean,
the
only thing I would say.
I was going to say that.
No.
Yeah.
No, the only thing I would say is, if anyone who is listening to this who hasn't been, the fucking oysters in MRB in the courtyard. Oh my god.
As a new
went to MRB
spot for me and Mike, the MRB.
Lovely. Also,
on Vedran, on our last trip, we were staying around the hotel from the MRB in a hotel, and the thing I loved about it is like the food outside, but I loved the music. I loved the music they had in the courtyard. It was absolutely phenomenal.
That, my wife fell in love with, and I did too. But like, it was, for me, it was really cool seeing her, how much she liked it. The fact that she judges cities based on how fun is it to just walk around town. And I have never been in a place that is more fun to just walk around town than New Orleans, because the fact that and we went on a quiet week, and every corner is music, and then you go like Frenchman Street, midday there's like a live whatever blues band playing inside. I was like, it's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, this doesn't exist in most places in the world. Like, it's not a thing. And it was just like, it's yeah, it was just it's a special place. Also, if anyone thinks of going there but hasn't been, go with your missus first. Make her love it. Then you have the pass to go whenever you want.
Yeah, and
That is tidy
what?
advice.
That's spectacular advice. That's spectacular advice. But also, that no part of that advice actually fails, because you have, Dan has, I have, all of our wives love it because they came with us because of our passion, and they all love it. And yeah, it's spectacular advice.
I mean, also feel like if we like it that much, we're probably not going to marry someone who would hate it. Realistically.
Yeah. Well, I think unless anybody has got anything else to say, I think that sounds like we're almost at 2 hours. So
just great
fun.
Flown
by, isn't it?
Great fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Enjoyed this. I'm
going to say, yeah, I've laughed my tits off. I have to admit, it's been absolutely brilliant. But Vedran, thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on. The only thing I would say to you is later in the year, if you get a little bit of time in your diary, if your wife is okay, if she hasn't got the flexibility to go out there herself, let's go over for a game.
I'm waiting to see if there's a home Saints game around the time when LSU plays Texas A&M, because that really speaks to me. So yeah, we'll see.
I think you'll find that our boy Shane, Shane will be telling us.
Shane was like, "You gotta come." He's like, "Oh, you gotta do it now." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah. No. Our boy Shane will be telling us that.
I'm almost as excited to meet Shane as I was to go to New Orleans.
Shane's the physical embodiment of New Orleans. Yeah. On that note, I think that's great. Vedran, thank you, my friend. It's been it's been a laugh, and it's been a pleasure. So yeah,
thank you so much, because without you, I would have never probably done this trip in the world. I probably would at some point later, and it would have been way worse than
you would have. But
it wouldn't be.
Hey, look, we're glad that we're glad that we gave you some advice, and you took none of it because you used to get drunk at 2:30 in the morning and just wander off on your own.
Listen, roll on the 12th of May-ish when the schedule comes out and we can all start planning.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for a back-to-back home Thursday night, Sunday game, see if I can squeeze into.
Yeah.
Or the New York game.
Sign me up.
They're my plans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, on that note.
And also, Dan, roll on the 30th of May, where you are hosting the second annual. Go on.
UK Saints Smokeout. So if you're London based and I know you and feel comfortable with you in my house, I'm joking. But yeah, if anyone who's
Vedran's not allowed.
He's already in the WhatsApp group. I've invited him.
I was invited to this, but I was only told, hey, it's the May 30th. I don't even know what it is. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go. It sounds great.
So we did it last year. And do you know what? Again, Vedran,
brilliant.
My wife said to me, so we're doing another meet-up this year. I was like, well, yeah, if you're happy. So she said, yeah, it's a given. I thought we'd do this every year now. So I was like, that's it. As many Saints fans as I know, my house, I'm cooking in the bar. We might have the Champions League final on if Arsenal in it, just to please Mike. But it'll be a good time. Nick wants me to smoke a suckling pig, but I think Maggie might lose her shit if I open the barbecue and there's a pig on there.
Yeah, but Maggie loses her shit no matter what you do, so it's fine.
That's the perfect spot to end this pod on, Vedran, because you said the perfect thing.
Thank you so much for having me. This was the best time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers, I'm off for a piss.
Thank you. Bye.
The Saints, the city, and me.